People should get the mask that fits them well and that they're willing to wear, because any mask is better than no mask. We have abundant and very compelling scientific data that wearing a mask reduces transmission of the virus in communities. And so we really want to get everybody masked up. We know that among consumers who are wearing masks, up to 50% aren't wearing them properly. Proper mask wear means that it has to cover your nose and your mouth and fit snugly around the contours of your face. The first thing I do is get a mask that fits the size of your face. All of us have a different face, and one mask doesn't necessarily fit all. So if it doesn't fit, try another. Then do what you can to get it to fit tightly. Make sure it has that nose wire. That's a great thing. Another trick, it's a little more difficult for people, but is to use the things that tie over your head and not the ear loops. Head ties, which can be a little more difficult because you kind of have to get it around your neck and over your head, but they will achieve just by that a better fit. Also, if you do get the ear loops, see about getting the ones that have an adjustable ear loop so that you can make it fit a little bit better. Another thing that you can do is if you're wearing those medical procedure masks, they're sometimes called surgical masks, the blue rectangular ones with the pleats in them that often fit with ear loops. If you look at yourself in the mirror, a lot of people notice there's this side gap right here. That's, these masks were not originally designed to protect us from bacteria and germs like other masks, but you can make those masks do that for you. And part of it is getting rid of those side gaps. There are a couple of ways that we recommend. One group, very clever, found that if you take the ear loops and you knot them right next to where they insert into the fabric, and then you take that little bit of leftover fabric that's there and fold it down flat and kind of tuck it under, when you put the mask on, it's really tight against your face here. Now, this is a great solution for some people. People like me who have kind of a bigger face, that knotting reduces the size and it doesn't really cover my nose and mouth completely. But if it works for you, the way you can test to see if it's working, well, put on some glasses, make sure you're not fogging them. And then if you breathe in and out, you'll see the fabric moving, which is a sign that you're pushing the air through and pulling it in through the fabric and not in and out of the side gaps. So you're getting that material to work for you. Loose fit. Single layers. We recommend masks to be at least 2 layers. There's good evidence that single layer doesn't provide very much protection at all. People should also know that a face shield, the plastic shield alone, is not sufficient to protect you or others from respiratory aerosols that may be carrying the virus. Now, they're great for eye protection, and if you're going to use them for that, then you have to wear a mask to go with it. We have research that we've done and others have as well that shows that gaiters, as long as they're at least 2 layers and they're pulled up fully over the mouth and nose, are providing some protection. Gaiters are also an option that we think may be useful. We don't have data yet to say this, but that may be useful for guys with beards. One of the issues with a beard is that you can't really get that perfect fit. The hair lets air kind of go in between. It's not letting it seal against the skin. So either you get a mask that's big enough that it seals down here and you get a tight fit, but a gaiter, can kind of conform to the face a little bit better, and that may help with the beard as well. We're trying to find ways that we can help people who have beards, because there are people who, for medical reasons as well as religious reasons, wear beards. I would first of all just note that the manufacturer says that they're for one-time use and they should be disposed of. Of course, that one-time use could be for a number of hours. So I think it's safe to wear them for a couple of hours, and it may be possible to even reuse them if they're very lightly used. I definitely would throw it out if it's soiled in any way. If there's any stain or material or fluid that's gotten onto it, that's changing the way that it can filter. Also, don't wash them. If you were to wash it like you might a cloth or fabric mask, that's going to really counter the benefit it's trying to give you. I try to tell people, if you can wear them no longer than once a day, that's probably doing all right. But I just want to caution, we haven't got that perfect kind of scientific evidence yet to answer the question, but I think based on common sense and some observation, if you wear it for one day, that's probably about the boundary you want to go. It's hard to know, of course, because predicting the future, as as we all know, is very difficult. But I know that we are going to get to the end of this. We've overcome pandemics before, and this isn't going to be the last pandemic either. So before getting to the end, just remember that we're learning lessons now that we should appreciate and take care of and save, because we're going to need them again in the future. But in terms of when we can begin to step back from a lot of these prevention measures, part of that is going to depend on when we get a high enough level of population immunity that the virus just can't propagate itself, that anytime it tries to get into another person, it comes to a dead end, either because that person's vaccinated or they've already had a natural infection which is protecting them. And when we get to that point, we can begin to relax some of these measures. I don't know what that level of immunity is. It's up there over 70 somewhere, but we'll know when we get there, because we ought to start to see viral transmission slowing down. It does both. And that's why it works so well. Think about a surgical mask for a minute. Why does the surgeon wear a surgical mask? I've already told you it has side gaps where the air comes in and out. The purpose of those surgical masks is to protect the patient. Covering the mouth and nose stops that surgeon's oral bacteria and viruses from getting into the sterile field. So that surgeon, she's protecting her patient. They're not designed necessarily for personal protection. Okay, but we found that there are things that we've been talking about to improve fit of those in particular, to get more filtration out of them. So we talk about what's called source control. What can I do to prevent myself from inadvertently infecting others, because I can be infected, not have symptoms, but definitely spread the virus. Then on the other hand, what can I do if I'm in a place where I'm exposed to virus to stop it from getting in? So imagine more and more people are wearing masks. Then what you're doing is reducing the amount of virus that's getting out into the environment, and that's reducing the amount of effort that the mask has to exert for you, basically, to prevent you from inhaling it. In these lab experiments that we did, by the way, we had two heads. We had a source head and a receiver head. And the source head was expelling or exhaling an aerosol, and they were particle sizes that are like those that we expect carry the virus. And the receiver head over here had a device in its mouth that was measuring how much of this aerosol was being received over here. Then we put a mask on the source, put a mask on the receiver, and then put masks on both. Now, when we took those masks that were modified, either the cloth over medical mask or the one that was knotted and tucked, when you put it on just the source or just the receiver, you got the same amount of reduction at the receiver end, okay? About 60 to 80% reduction, depending on which way you go. But when you put them on both, the receiver's exposure was reduced by over 95%. And that speaks to this compounding effect you get when everybody's masked. It's stopping the virus from getting out, and then what gets out, we prevent it from getting in. One of the biggest misconceptions about masking is that it's some form of political statement. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, your station in life, your height, your weight, your skin color. We're all human beings, and we're trying to protect everyone. Masking is something that works for everybody. The data are very compelling, and I really would encourage people to try it out right before they dismiss it entirely, because they believe that it represents some kind of a political gesture. I think the other problem that people sometimes face with masking is they're a little embarrassed, It's like, oh, I've never done this thing covering my face. What will people think? Just want you to think back a year ago today. If you had gone to the supermarket and you saw somebody wearing a mask, you would have said, who's that crazy person wearing a mask? Now, you go to Safeway and you see a person not wearing a mask, and you're like, who is that crazy person not wearing a mask? So we've come a long way, and they're more socially acceptable. The other misconception is that they're difficult to breathe through. They can be a challenge. You need to find one that will work for you, but they will not either lower the amount of oxygen your body's getting or cause buildup of carbon dioxide that's dangerous. And we know this because for decades, healthcare personnel have been wearing masks for extended periods that fit a lot tighter, and they're doing fine. We have a lot of experiments out there in every hospital showing that people can wear masks and they're doing very, very well. The concern about this variant that's most common right now is that it can spread faster. It's more infectious, more transmissible. What that means is it can rapidly infect a lot of people, meaning that you can have many more people sick at the same time, meaning more people requiring healthcare, and unfortunately that may lead to more deaths. The vaccine will eventually help prevent that, but data from our agency suggests that we may be in a place where that variant strain starts to dominate as early as the end of March. Masking, as well as all the other things we recommend, are what we're going to need to do to stop that future I just described from happening. So masking is really critical right now.